How did I lose you in Home Depot in 2 minutes flat? My best friend Anne asked, answering my phone call. I didn't even notice you weren't with me until somewhere around the power tools. I'm in the lighting section, I said. I got distracted by a chandelier that looks like something out of Game of Thrones. We came here for a faucet, Anne pointed out, and I could imagine her rolling her eyes. Yeah, but I'm looking at a chandelier that could kill a man if it fell from the ceiling. All you're really telling me is that you're easily distracted by shiny things, Anne replied. Just meet me in aisle 12. I paused. We had come to the real reason I had called her, but it wasn't easy to say the words. Well, I can't. Why not? I paused again. There was no way to put this nicely. I just had to say it, so I did. I just shit my pants. Silence. I'm sorry, what? I shit my pants, Anne. Okay, she replied, keeping her voice low. Like, are we talking a rogue fart that got a bit messy, or like an event? I'd call it an event, I answered. Not the full Broadway production, but maybe the opening act. I could hear Anne stifle a laugh. Where are you? I'm next to lighting fixtures, hiding in the seasonal decor. There's a reindeer staring at me like it knows. Okay. Anne's voice changed tone like she was taking charge. I could tell she had started walking. We're going to get through this. You're going to be fine. I'm not fine. I got surprised by a sneeze and my body betrayed me. Just a few minutes earlier, everything had been normal. Anne had gone off to find the faucets, while I meandered into the lighting section, drawn in like a moth to an overpriced flame. In this giant warehouse cathedral of home improvement, I was in my element, fantasizing about a mansion I could never actually afford, filled with fixtures that in real life I absolutely did not need. And that's when it started. First with a rumble, and then a cramp, but when a second round of rumbling calmed down, I thought, nah, I'm good. I bent over to examine a rustic lantern outdoor light, sneezed, and fate intervened. Panic set in immediately. I did a hasty waddle step past the clearance lamps and hid myself behind an inflatable Santa. I pretended to look at price tags while assessing my options, red-faced. Should I try to make the long trek to the bathroom? No, probably not much point in that now. That ship had sailed. It was time for damage control, and that's when I called Anne. This was friendship, not the kind that existed for social media posts and padding out invite lists. The real kind. The help your best friend flee a big box store with poopy pants kind. I'll be there in a minute, Anne reassured me. We need to get you to the car. You're wearing a long top, right? Yes. Black leggings? Yes. Okay, you've got some camouflage. It's not great, but we work with what we have. Yes, but I think it's spreading. Oh, God. Yeah, gravity is not my friend right now. Anne stifled another laugh. Well, do you see anything nearby, like Christmas tree skirts maybe? Anything you could put around your waist? I looked around me with more than a little desperation. There's a novelty beach towel with a giant eagle and the word freedom on it. It's not too far away. That'll do. I hung up, waddled to retrieve the towel, and wrapped it around my waist, like an out-of-season 4th of July beach look. The eagle stared boldly out at the world, its wings protectively shielding my dignity. Anne arrived a moment later, weaving her way between clearance Halloween decor and a display of outdoor Christmas lights. Hey, freedom bird, she said out of the corner of her mouth like we were mobsters in some old movie. You holding up? I stared at her, my eyebrows saying, Are you for real? What do you think? I replied. This is not my best day. You smell okay, she commented, sounding surprised. Yeah, I used a scented pine air freshener from that abandoned cart over there. You know, one of those Christmas tree ones for your car. She looked me up and down. Wait, where did you put it? I stuck it in the waistband of my leggings. Anne burst out laughing. Do not make me laugh right now, I gasped. Everything is fragile. This is a Jenga tower of potential wardrobe malfunctions over here. Anne struggled to suppress her laughter. All right, we're making a run for the car. What's our route? I looked around. We'll go past those grills, cut through lawn furniture, and out through the garden center. Smart. The garden center should be pretty empty this time of year. And it's open air. Yeah, good airflow, Anne agreed, looking like she was barely avoiding bursting into laughter again. Less chance of a scent trail, she pointed out, and then mashed her lips together and shook silently. The security guy over there knows something. He keeps looking this way. Well, let's hope he just thinks you're shoplifting freedom towels and not harboring a domestic emergency in your pants. Oh, and another thing, If I die of embarrassment on the way out, delete my browser history. What in the hell did you Google? How long can a person clench? Anne laughed silently through her nose, and then she gave her head a shake and tried to be serious. Let's move before this towel starts telling its own story. Operation Code Brown was in motion. We walked like women with a purpose. Well, Anne walked. I shuffled like a penguin, trying not to detonate. We made it past the grills and patio umbrellas without incident, smiling politely at a dad explaining to his toddler why they couldn't live in the shed section of Home Depot. Almost there, Anne encouraged. This freedom towel itches, I muttered. I think it's made of patriotism and fiberglass. Eyes on the prize, she said. And then, disaster. A kid, maybe 6 years old, blocking the doors to the garden center with a rogue shopping cart he clearly had no business operating. He looked at us with the bright eyes of someone who's about to ask 1,000 questions. I smiled, put my hand on the cart, began to ease it out of the way, asking, "Can we move this a little over here, please?" Which is when he said, "Lady, why you got a bird on your butt?" I froze, terrified I might laugh, imagining the scene if I did and the worst happened. Anne stepped forward. Because she's secretly a spy, and this is part of her uniform. Keep moving, soldier. The kid stared at us as Anne steered me quickly past him like a bouncer escorting a drunk celebrity out of a club. Freedom bird strikes again, Anne chuckled. And we were through the sliding glass doors of the garden center where the sweet kiss of fresh air greeted us. Almost there, but fate wasn't finished with me yet. A familiar voice called out, "Holly? Anne? Oh my God, how funny to run into you two here." It was Debbie from the PTA, holding a styrofoam snowman. This was the woman who once organized a fundraiser for a school play that involved a live goat and pyrotechnics. She knew everyone, and she was a talker. I don't only mean that she gossiped, although that was one of her favorite hobbies. I mean that she could talk your ear off for 20 minutes. I felt my eyes widen in panic. Anne jumped into action. "Hey, Debbie, can't talk. Holly's got explosive diarrhea." I was simply speechless. Debbie's eyebrows shot up. "Oh my." "Yeah, there's a tummy bug going around. Highly contagious. Looks like she's coming down with it, so we've got to quarantine her immediately." Debbie stepped backward a little. Feel better. Gotta run." I glared at Anne. "You told her I have explosive diarrhea?" "Would you rather I say you sharted in light fixtures?" I nodded, taking her point, saying, "Okay, fair." A minute later, we reached the car. Anne unlocked it with a triumphant beep and flung open the passenger door. "What if you grabbed the floor mat," I suggested, "and put that on the seat?" "Right," she agreed. "I could hose that off and leave it in the sun to dry." She put it on the seat, and I gingerly arranged myself, struggling to get the seatbelt around the mat and latched. Anne got in, started the engine, and we were thankfully, mercifully out of there. "I'm never eating dairy again," I groaned, sitting uncomfortably. "Cheese is a liar." We pulled onto the road, windows open, of course, the eagle towel fluttering slightly in the breeze. Anne shook her head and grinned. "Honestly," she said, "that was one of the most efficient shopping trips we've ever had." "Efficient?" I replied in disbelief. "I destroyed a pair of leggings, ruined a towel, shoplifted out of sheer panic and desperation, and possibly caused a biohazard." "Exactly. All in under 20 minutes. We should put that on our Yelp review." I laughed a little, in spite of myself. "Thank you for not leaving me in there." "Please. I'd never abandon you in a poop-related crisis. I'd just tell the internet about it later." "When I get home, I'm burning this towel," I announced. "Nah, come on," she protested. "That thing is a badge of honor now. A souvenir of your daring escape from Home Depot." "What do you think Debbie thought about the towel?" I asked. Anne smiled wryly. "Well, given what I told her, I imagine she'll put 2 and 2 together." "Oh, God," I moaned. "She's going to tell everyone." It's been a few years since this happened to me, but even now, it's a bar against which other troubles in life are measured. If I text Anne to report some bad luck or a minor crisis, she'll send back, "Shoot, that sucks, but it's not freedom bird level. Keep your chin up." Indeed. If you enjoyed this reading, please hit like and subscribe so you don't miss future stories. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. This has been Tales by Rachel, where we breathe life into every story.